Hi there, I'm Steve, and I want to show you how to play the beginning of Tesla's Little Suzie. I've done another video on the chord progression to it, but I had a lot of requests for this segment of it, for the intro. So what I want to talk to you about is just that part. Okay, so the first thing you need to do is you need to tune your guitar to what's called dad-gad tuning. Okay, and what that means is you're tuning the sixth string to D instead of E, and then your fifth string is still A. Your fourth string is still D, so you have two Ds there. Your third string is still G, but your second string needs to be A instead of B. And then your first string is going to be D again. So you have three Ds in here. So what I'm going to do is just pluck through them. If you have a tuner, obviously that's the best way of tuning, but I'm going to pluck these and you can tune to this if you need to. So here's the sixth string, which is D. Okay, and the fifth string, which is A. And the fourth string, which is D again. And the third string, which is G. The second string, which is A. And the first string, which is D again. And again, I know I'm kind of rushing through the tuning element, but I want to get to the song. You can always rewind it, or like I said, I highly recommend finding yourself a tuner. You can go online and look for things. There's a lot of software out there. So anyway, let's get started. What I'm doing here is I'm starting off, I'm going to kind of explain to you what's going on with my right hand, and then of course what's going on with my left hand. So the first part of this, what I'm doing is I'm going to the middle two strings. I'm going to the third and fourth strings. And I'm going to pluck those with my thumb and my index finger, my first finger. Okay. Right after I do that, I need to do a hammer-on to the second fret of the third string. So it sounds like this. Okay. And remember, to do a hammer-on, you really need to hit hard. You need to smack that finger down. So we've got this hammer-on. Okay, right after we do that, we're going to head over with our third finger to the fourth fret of the fourth string. And I'm going to pluck that with my thumb. Okay, then I'm going to go back to the open string of the third string, the 0, and I'm going to do that with my index finger. So that's the first thing for you to work on. Now you'll notice one of the things about this is that I'm always picking my fingers up, right? When I'm playing, I'm not leaving, because you're going to get all these kind of dissonant or not pleasant sounds sometimes when you have more than one string ringing out. So the very beginning I want both these, because it's making a D chord is actually what you're doing right there. But when I head over to this note, I'm not really hearing the third string underneath there, because I'm taking the finger off, I'm getting it out of the way. And then when I go back to the third string, this one's really important. When I go back to the third string open, I'm not playing that fourth fret of the fourth string anymore. I'm off of that. Now, if you've seen any of my instructional work before, you know, one of the big things I talk about, the obvious thing all the time when you're learning something, whether it's off YouTube or whatever, is you can watch people how to play it. You can see how you're supposed to do it and look at the tablature and that sort of thing. But the most important thing is always thinking about how to make things sound clean and accurate, even if it's slower than it needs to be, but at least everything is consistent. So one of the big problems that students have a lot of times is when they're trying to play something like this, everything gets kind of muddy, or they can't really make it sound smooth. And the goal is always take your time and be aware of every little thing you're doing. Be aware of what fingers you're using to pick. Be aware of what fingers you're using to press down on. Be aware of trying to make separation between the notes. If you don't want them to ring out as a chord, always build separation. Okay? So those are the kind of things you need to work on. So what I'm always trying to do is deaden out all the strings that I don't want, and I'm either doing that by lightly touching with a finger that I'm not using, or I might be using my right hand to touch various strings. So let's keep going here. Then you're going to go up to the sixth string. You're going to pluck that with your thumb. Right there. Okay? Now after you pluck that, you're going to go down to the first and second strings here. And when I pluck those, I'm using my first and second fingers. So my first finger is on the second string, and my middle finger is on the first string. I'm just plucking those together. So I have... Okay? So again, in pieces, you know, like with this video that I'm doing for you, you wouldn't have to watch the whole thing in one sitting. If you really like this song and you want to learn how to play it, the big thing is to watch the first section, pause it, and then practice that over and over and over again until you get it straight in your head. Learn to truly visualize when you're learning how to play. If you have to look at a piece of paper to know how it goes, you don't know it that well. And so the best thing you can do is just to keep thinking about it. You know, visualize the tab or whatever it is that you're using. Visualize my fingers. Visualize each piece of that pattern. Okay? So once you get that built, then we have the next part, which sounds like this. Let me play that for you again. Okay, so what's happening there is I'm going to the second fret of the fourth string. I'm going to pluck that with my first finger, and I'm going to hammer to the fourth fret. Okay, and I'm using my third finger over here to do that. Then I'm plucking the sixth string open again. Then I've got to go back to my first finger on the fourth string and pluck that open. Okay? And then I'm going to go back to the sixth string again. So it sounds like this. Okay? So here's the beginning again. Now we do the exact same thing, except the very last thing is different. So let me play it for you. See how I went to the first and second strings instead? Instead of going, I went. Still going back to the sixth string every time. Okay? So here's the two sequences. Again, I'm not trying to go too fast here, but if something isn't making sense, just simply rewind the video and watch that segment. So I'm going to do the first one. Okay, and then you go up to these. Then you do your second part. Then I go back to the first part. Now the second part. Okay, then I go back to the whole first segment and do that one again. So can you kind of see what I'm seeing here? My first segment, the first part of each one of these three segments is the same. The second part is almost the same, except the second piece, you go to these two strings right here. So I'm going to play the first segment. Second segment. Third segment, which is the same as the first. Now we've got this little tag at the end, this thing. Okay, so what I'm doing there is I'm making an E chord shape, if you know E. Okay, first finger on the third string, second finger on the fifth string, and third finger on the fourth string. Okay, so I'm making an E major shape here. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to move it up to the fourth and fifth frets. And I'm going to pluck these. I'm using three fingers. I'm using my middle, my first, and my thumb. So I'm going. Then I'm going to slide up a whole step or 2 frets. And then I pick them again. And you can even hear the slide. And you want to hear that slide. Okay? And then it ends with. So there again, I'm using these 3 fingers. I'm plucking the first string, second string, and then I'm going to go to the 4th string with my thumb, and I want to be on the 2nd fret of that fourth string. I'm going to slide to the 4. So I have, and then I pluck these first 2 strings together. So it sounds like this. Okay? So again, this little tag, I start with this E chord shape at the 4th and 5th frets. Okay? So we've got the first 3 segments, which are very similar to each other. We've got this first ending tag here. So again, I'm going to play through the whole thing for you. If you need to go back and look at one of those other ones, please do so. So here's the whole thing in its entirety, a little slower, the first segment here, or the first section, I should say. Okay? Then what you do is you go back and you repeat that whole thing again. It's just when you get to this part, instead of dropping down to here, he does something completely different. Now, needless to say, to truly learn how to play this intro, you have to have some patience. And the other thing is make sure that you listen to it a lot. You know, one of the things I really see that students have a problem with, is when they're learning how to play something, they don't really know how it goes. They're just jumping in because they're excited about it. And I totally understand that. But the truth is if you really listen to something, you know, like the beginning of this Tesla song, if you listen to the intro over and over and over again, get it in your head, then when you start playing it, what you're playing is matching up to what you're hearing. Otherwise, it's just matching up to like tab and tablature and things like that. And the problem is you really don't know how the rhythms are supposed to go. So this part now, I'm coming from here. Then we're going to move into this part right here. So what's happening here is I'm playing the 4th fret of the 2nd and 3rd strings. I'm using my pinky and my 3rd finger, although you could use anything, okay? And I'm using these 3 fingers again to do my picking. So what I'm doing is I'm plucking 0 on the 1st string, 4 on the 2nd string, and 4 on the 3rd string. So I'm going, and I'm always going to do that round, 1st, 2nd, 3rd string, 1st, 2nd, 3rd string. The only difference is after I've done it twice, I'm going to pluck the 5th string with my thumb, and then I'm going to start doing the rounds of the 3 again, so it sounds like this. So there's 2 again, after that A chord, or excuse me, the A note, the open 5th string. So it sounds like this. Okay, then it gets even more tricky. This is where this part comes in. That whole thing. So what's happening here is I'm going to the 7th fret of the 2nd string with my pinky. I'm going to the 4th fret of the 3rd string with my 1st finger. And I'm going to the 6th fret of the 4th string with my ring finger. I hope I said this was on the 3rd string. Okay? So I have 2nd string, 7th fret, 3rd string, 4th fret, and 4th string, 6th fret. And what I'm doing here is just doing that same round, but I only want 8 notes. So it goes 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And again, I'm using the same 3 fingers, making that same round, except I'm on those 2nd, 3rd, 4th strings. But the last time through only has 2 notes, because 3 plus 3 plus 6, of course, equals 8. So, okay. Then I'm going to head down here. I've got my pinky on 5 on the 5th fret of the 2nd string. And I've got my 1st finger on the 2nd fret of the 4th string. There's nobody on the 3rd string. I got to try and stay away from that because I need it to be open. Again, I'm going to pluck those 3 strings with these 3 fingers. So what's happening there is I'm moving from the 5th fret of the 2nd string to the 4th fret with my 3rd finger to the 2nd fret with my middle finger. going 5, 4, 2, 4, 5, 5, and then I strum on the fourth one. So watch that very carefully. So I have 5, 4, 2, 4, 5, 5, and then I strum with my thumb. I'm going to strum those 3 strings. Okay, so up to speed a little bit. Sorry. Okay. Then it moves on from there. After you strum that, it goes up to... Okay, so right there what I'm doing is I'm playing the 4th fret of the 3rd string, the 5th fret of the 2nd string. Then I'm moving up a whole step, so they're on 6 and 7. Okay, so believe me, there's a lot in here, and that's why I want you to just keep kind of watching it over and over and over. I've always thought this was a really, really cool intro, which is, of course, why I decided I'd finally do this for you guys. So we've got the intro, the first 3 segments, which are similar to each other. Then we've got this tag. Okay, then we do the whole intro thing again, the 3 segments with the tag. Only at the end of the tag, that's where we go into the... And then it goes into 7, 4, 6. See, I'm thinking about each segment in my head. Then I move down to 5, 0, 2. Then it just starts all over again. It does the first part with the tag. It just ends with that whole thing again. Okay? Now, just so you know, when I'm playing this 5, 4, 2 thing, sometimes you're going to see that I go to the 4th fret with my pinky. It just feels comfortable. So when you're playing these things, please remember that you can always edit. If there's a finger that you'd rather use on the right hand or a different fingering that you want to use on the left hand, you know, what I'm saying isn't necessarily exactly correct. It's the way I perceive the song to be played and what feels most comfortable to me. And it's really important that you do the same thing when you're trying to learn how to play these sorts of things. If the tab says something or the teacher says something, whatever it is, use that for information. But if you start practicing and you go, boy, it would make more sense to me if I played it this way, by all means do that. There's certainly nothing wrong with that. So I hope you enjoy this video for little Suzie. Make sure you let me know if you have any questions about it, and I will see you soon.